Hello everyone, Charles Watts here. Welcome back to Inside Arsenal. It is Wednesday. I hope the day is going well wherever you're watching or listening to this around the world. Match day, of course, Arsenal versus Crystal Palace kicking off a little bit later on at the Emirates. I'll be heading up there in a few hours' time. I'm in the press box today. I'm not in the stands. So my dad's going to sit in the press box. So if you can't watch the game and you do want live updates on social media, I will be providing them on my social media channels, Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it, Blue Sky and Facebook as well. So plenty to talk about today, focusing on that game. We'll go through the predicted 11. We'll look at what some of you guys have been saying in terms of who you would like to see start. We'll look at what Mikel's been saying about team news, injuries, the temptation to rest players ahead of the game against PSG. So we'll go through all of that. Got some comments and questions from you guys as well on Ethan Waneri and what might be best for his future next season. Jack Wilshere and Aaron Ramsey, who will be facing off as managers on the final weekend of the championship season. I honestly don't think I've ever felt as old as I did when I read that news yesterday. So plenty to get stuck into. We'll start with today's game. Of course, one of my usual apologies on this show. Now, I've got a really, really bad sore throat, and I am probably at some point gonna have to either cough or take my drink. I've got my cup of coffee next to me. So if you do see me sort of necking a load of drink, it's because it feels like my throat is going to explode. But on team news today and injury-wise on Bukayo Saka, Mikel said we have to wait and see how he reacts after the session yesterday. But it's nothing too serious on whether he'll be able to play against Palace. He said, if we want to, I think he would have a good chance to play. On Calafiori and Jorginho, not such good news. Mikel said, yes, Ricky is out. Jorginho as well. For Jorginho, I think, unfortunately, it will be a few weeks. When asked on whether Jorginho will be back before the end of the season, Mikel said, I hope so, but I'm not certain. So we have to see how he evolves in the next few days. I would say a few weeks. So the doctor was quite cautious still talking about any dates. So let's see. The good news is that he's improving. He's feeling much better now. It was quite a scary situation, and he's in a good place now. Yeah, it doesn't sound good, does it, what Jorginho went through? We don't know the full extent of what happened with those ribs. And I think we've heard they were broken or fractured. Some of them were. But it sounds like it was pretty bad. The fact that Mikel's saying it was a pretty scary situation. You know, I don't know if that was a punctured lung or anything like that. I don't know. I mean, I'm just purely guessing there. There's no information on it, but didn't sound good. So fingers crossed, Jorginho is, healthy, recovering, and will be back soon. It'd be nice to see him again before the end of the season, because obviously he's not going to be here next season. So it wouldn't be great if his last sort of memory of him in an Arsenal shirt was him sort of being carried off the pitch or helped off the pitch in serious pain after that really nasty fall against Brentford. So that is a shame. Certainly rules him out by the sounds of it at the PSG games as well. So any sort of lingering hope that there was that maybe Jorginho would be back and he could sort of fill in for Thomas Partey and Declan Rice could stay in that 8 position that he's been playing in recently. I think that has gone now with these comments from Mikel Arteta. So that's the latest in terms of team news and injury news ahead of tonight's game. Obviously, Mikel was asked about, resting players ahead of PSG. We've got, 6 days now until the PSG game. There is no game for Arsenal this weekend. So this is the last one before the semi-final first leg in the Champions League. When asked about the temptation to rest players ahead of PSG, he said, we cannot think in those terms. I think that when the players are fit and they are available and they want to play, they have to play. And they are at their best when they are playing and they have that consistency in their performances. And physically, they are good. Emotionally, they are good. Their understanding, their rhythm, the way they make decisions is at their best. And that's why we need the players. If they are not available, there's no discussion. And if they are not in good condition to perform, we're not going to play them. And if they are, we are going to play them. So that sounds, and to be honest, I'm expecting a strong team when we go there later and we see the team news now. So I'm expecting it to be a strong team. There might be a couple of changes, but I don't think it's going to be wholesale changes. Arteta's just not one. And those comments that I've just read out, just summed it up. He's not one to make massive changes and to really weaken the team and to rotate too much. We know that. He was then asked, on if he'll be able to forgive himself if a player gets injured ahead of the game next week. And he says there's always a balance. And obviously you want to balance the risk and make sure that you are sensible with your decision making. But that's what we have as well, our very top staff to guide us and to tell us what we should be doing and what the risks are and when to do that. Unfortunately, in football, anything can happen. The game starts when the game finishes. To write the story of what should have happened, that's not that's easy. So do it before. I'm quite sure what he means at the end there. But yeah, I'm just not expecting him to make change. I think there'll be a few. and I'll get to my predicted 11 in a bit. When you sort of look at those key areas on who should be resting, obviously Bukayo Saka. I think if there's any lingering effects from what happened at the weekend for Saka, and there's any sort of danger of him put himself in trouble of facing PSG, then he shouldn't be anywhere near this game tonight. Just play Ethan Nwaneri. I think that's probably pretty likely. I look at Declan Rice and think he's played loads of football. One game off, one night off is not going to affect him ahead of that PSG. He's not going to lose his rhythm if he has a night off tonight. And I just wonder, knowing that Thomas Partey can't play against PSG, I wonder if Partey's just going to play this game and then you just protect Declan Rice. You can, there's other options to play sort of in that midfield role further ahead of him as well. So there are a few, but I think we're going to see probably the fullbacks come back in. The fullbacks that didn't start against Ipswich, I think they'll start tonight. I think it'll be a full strength team. Arteta will want to win this game, no doubt about it. He doesn't want to just hand the title to Liverpool. Obviously, if Arsenal lose tonight, the title's Liverpool. Liverpool be crowned champions tonight if Arsenal lose. Arsenal don't want that. They want Liverpool to go and win it, which they will obviously because they're playing that shambolic side down the road at the weekend. But you don't want to just hand it to them now, do you? So he'll want to win tonight. He'll want to really sort of take a real firm grasp on second spot as well ahead of the final few games of the season. So as much as I'm sure there is a bit of temptation to rest players against PSG, I can't see him doing it. Just going through some of what you guys have had to say ahead of tonight's game. This is what you've said in terms of your 11s. Tyler's got in touch and says, "Hi Charles, my 11 versus Palace is Raya, White, Saliba, Kivior, Lewis Skelly, Partey, Odegaard and Merino, then Nwaneri, Trossard and Martinelli. Crucial to rest Timber, Rice and Saka before PSG. Maybe some minutes during the match if all is going well." And Mason says, "Hi Charles, my team is White, Saliba, Kivior, Zinchenko, Odegaard, Partey, Merino, Nwaneri, Trossard and Martinelli." The 11 rests some key players, but lets Merino and Trossard play more minutes in the same position they will be in against PSG. You can then put Miles and Timber on around the 60-minute mark to stay match sharp. So both of you kind of agreeing with me there in the one sort of real big absence, Declan Rice. I think that is really, really important tonight. I'm sure I did actually bring in my... Where is it? Here we go. I'm going to quickly get rid of this screen and move to my predicted 11. So this is what I've gone for tonight's game in terms of my predicted 11. So I've gone Raya in goal. My back four is Timber, Saliba, Kivior and Lewis Skelly. So pretty much the back four, is the back four that, as long as everyone's fit, I think starts against PSG next Tuesday. Then I've gone Partey in midfield. So I think I think the temptation is going to be really there to rest Rice today. I just don't think you need to take any risks with Declan Rice. So I think you play Partey. I think he'll go with Odegaard, Merino, and then he'll go Nwaneri on the right instead of Saka, Trossard up top, Martinelli on the left. I agree, sort of playing Trossard and Merino again in these positions that they're going to play in against PSG. I think it's important to get one more game under their belts. They both did very, very well. I thought they were the two-star performers alongside Martin Odegaard against Ipswich at the weekend. If they can have another good night tonight, then that should send them into the PSG game full of confidence. So there's my predicted 11 for tonight's game. It's Raya in goal, Timber, Saliba, Kivior and Lewis Skelly, Partey, Odegaard, Merino, and then Nwaneri, Trossard and Martinelli. Couple more here from you guys. Nostradamus says Arteta should give Neto his Premier League debut for us. He can't play against Bournemouth and won't play against Liverpool, followed by Newcastle. Thus giving it to the last day against Southampton. The club's giving out near 2.5 million for him to play one or two games. Bizarre business and must go down as one of our strangest short-term transfers given the circumstances of the loan limit rule being ineligible for the EFL and not playing a league game yet. David Raya was rested against Girona and then played the next game against City, which we won 5-1. The thing is, I think Neto's done exactly what Arsenal wanted him to do, and that was just be a backup goalkeeper in case of emergency. I don't think there was anything more than that. Arteta's not a manager who rotates his goalkeeper massively, even in the cup competitions. He's never really done that. And so I don't think Arsenal will look at it as I think you're right in terms of the taking up a loan spot. That wasn't ideal, especially when it came to January, because that could have been really useful. So from that point of view, either Neto, Sterling, one of those two, I think you've got to learn from that. And only if you're going to make a loan from a Premier League club in the summer, just do one, leave yourself one loan spot free for January. But I think the Neto deal, if I'm going to question any of those loan deals, it's Raheem Sterling now. I think the Neto's deal has done exactly what Arsenal wanted from him this season. That was just be backup in case anything happened. They hoped nothing would happen to Raya. It didn't. And, Neto will go on his merry way at the end of the season. I think Arsenal will be relatively pleased with that deal. John Z says, "Hi Charles, we miss extra time. Are you recording one anytime soon, or is Benji vacationing in a secluded island?" Lol. We will be recording, I think, tomorrow. It's my fault. It's not James's fault. The last couple of weeks because I was away, and then last week I was obviously traveling to Madrid as well. Got back on the Thursday. I had the kids because they're on half term, and I just couldn't record anything last week either. So we will record something tomorrow. I think I haven't actually asked him yet, but I'm pretty sure we are going to be doing something tomorrow. He's probably going to be at the game tonight, so I'll speak to him then. But yes, it will be coming back very soon. Don't worry about that. Then you also said regarding tomorrow's lineup, I just hope Mikel rests Odegaard. He showed us that he's the opposite of Partey. The more rest he gets, the better he plays. And I'm with you. I truly hope Forest gets a top 5 spot. So either City or Chelsea would miss out on the Champions League next season. Excuse me, I just got to take a drink. That was a massive result for Manchester City in the race for the Champions League last night, by the way. So they've moved ahead of Nottingham Forest now in the league table. We saw the celebrations there. Who says that top 4 doesn't matter, eh? And you look at the celebrations of Man City, the 4-time reigning 4 in a row time Premier League champions, the celebrations when they scored that goal. It doesn't matter who you are, where you are, you score a last-minute winner. It is absolute joyous scenes. And they kept going, Man City, and got the win against Villa. That was a massive win for them. So I think City now, I look at that league table and I think City are going to do it. They're going to get one of the Champions League places. Now I really hope Forest stay in as well. It'd be a real shame, I think, if Forest miss out on that Champions League spot. So we'll see how that goes. In terms of resting Odegaard, I don't think he will. I think Odegaard plays tonight, I have to say. Right, Mikel Merino. I just wanted to go over these comments from Mikel in his press conference last night in this sort of embargo section. I thought this was some interesting stuff on Merino and his sort of improvement of late, what playing in the number 9 role has done for him in terms of his confidence and the way he's playing now, and maybe what it's going to do for him playing in that when he does drop back into that left 8 role like we saw at the weekend against Ipswich when he was very, very impressive. I thought, this is what Mikel had to say. He said, I think it's given him a different perspective as well about the position and how we link the attacking midfield role with our 9s. He has spent certainly much more time in the last few weeks in training around the box. So that's probably going to give him another taste, another smell, and a really good sense of timing of how he can hurt the opposition. And that's something very, very positive. I agree with you that he played a really good game in midfield at the weekend. And again, now he feels really comfortable in both of those positions, which is good. And on the right as well, because I think he can play on the right. I'm not sure what he means there by on the right. I hope he doesn't mean right wing, because I definitely don't want to see Mikel Merino playing on the right wing. But yeah, it's interesting in terms of what him playing in that 9 role might well have done for him in terms of playing in that left 8 role, which when we had seen him when he first came into the side and he was searching for confidence, for form and fitness, was just really struggling to make a little bit of an impact in that position. But then, albeit against Ipswich, of course, at the weekend, who are a terrible, frankly, terrible Premier League side, he was very, very good. It was an excellent performance from him. Maybe playing in that number 9 role just does give him a bit more of an understanding of where he needs to be and how he needs to affect the sort of final third when he is playing in that left 8 role. And I think you look at how he's sort of turned things around, Merino, in the second half of the season. I don't think any of us would have predicted that. And it's a real boost going into next season, I think, to have this Mikel Merino fully fit, fully confident, just feeling part of the team, having his name sung by the fans, that will just make him feel a whole lot better as well. And it's just it might be a small thing or might seem like a small thing, but that could just do massive for his confidence. And you've got a really handy player to be able to call upon next season in Mikel Merino. So I think that's a really positive thing to come from the last few months of Arsenal's season. Right, moving on to a few of your comments and questions before we wrap this one up today. Is that Shobo at the top says, I believe Arsenal should consider loaning Ethan to a top European club where he can get regular first-team football at the moment, and likely even next season opportunities at Arsenal will be limited, as we've already seen since Saka's return. Ethan hasn't played a single minute across the 2 legs against Real Madrid, which speaks volumes. We know Arteta isn't one to heavily rotate, especially when it comes to Saka and Odegaard during a title race. At this stage in Ethan's development, playing just 10 15 minutes occasionally won't be enough to unlock his full potential. A loan move similar to the path we took with Saliba could do wonders for him. What's your take? My take is no, I do not agree. I don't think we should be sending Ethan Nwaneri out on loan. I think Arsenal absolutely need him. I think he's going to be a crucial player next season. I think he'll get plenty of minutes. I know he didn't play against Madrid, but I don't think that was just because Saka was back. Saka went off injured in those games, or not injured, but he limped off quite early on in the first leg in the second half, and he limped off. He was just tired in the second half, and it wasn't that Saka played all those games. It's just that Arteta chose not to bring Nwaneri on to replace him. And I think that was just because of experience and the stature of the game and all that sort of stuff. But Ethan will play loads of minutes next season. I don't think he needs to go anywhere and learn anything new now. He's embedded into this Arsenal team, into this squad. He knows the way they play. He's going to provide essential cover for Saka next season as well, which we absolutely need. If you send Ethan Wan out on loan this summer, then you've got to go and spend 40, 50 million pounds to bring in a replacement just for one season. It just doesn't make any sense for me. So no, I would not be considering that. I have to say. Edward says, "Hi Charles, what do you make of Jack Wilshere and Aaron Ramsey both suddenly getting their first chances in management in the Championship? Is it a case of nothing to lose? They're only going to be seen as stopgaps, or do you think they might be looked at as long-term solutions, particularly if Ramsey were to keep Cardiff?" I mean, I suppose on Ramsey, it depends on his situation because he's still technically a player. You know, he has been playing this season. He's only on the sidelines at the moment because he's injured. So it'd be up for him. I think if anyone's more likely to get the top job on a permanent basis, it would probably be Wilshere, just because he's far more experienced. You know, even though he's only 33, which is ridiculous. You know, he's done his time at Arsenal. He's really sort of learned his trade. He's very well respected in the game. He's done his time as a bit of a sort of as the number 2 at Norwich this season as well. So I think he's probably the more likely of the two to get it on a permanent basis. But I think both of them probably. Both clubs go on and appoint permanent managers in the summer rather than sort of considering one of these two. But really good for them. It's going to be great seeing them go up against each other on the touchline in that final game of the season. As I said at the start of the video, it just makes me feel so old thinking that these two now are managers. When you go back to that Arsenal midfield of Arteta, Ramsey, Wilshere, now all three of them are managers. It's time flies, man. Time absolutely flies. Tom says, "Hi, Charles. I'm sure you've seen Dermot Gallagher's comments saying the challenge on Saka wasn't malicious. What's your immediate response to that? For me, it sums up him and that stupid programme. I couldn't agree with you more. I just think it's ridiculous, but not surprising because, as you said, I never get surprised by what Dermot comes out with on that programme, and I never get surprised at how bad that programme is. But it draws attention to Sky. It gets us all talking. It gets clipped up and sent out across the world, shared by millions of people on social media. So it does the job for them. But you know, if you're an experienced referee like Dermot Gallagher is or was, and you're looking at that challenge and you don't think it's malicious, then I'm just genuinely staggered, because what else was it? There was no attempt to win the ball. He was never going to get the ball. All he was doing was going through the back of Bukayo Saka. So all he was doing was trying to hurt him and leave one on him. And he did. And it could have been so much worse. And so to say it's not malicious, it's just quite frankly unbelievable, because it clearly was. What else was it? There's no way you can look at that and say it was anything else other than a malicious attempt to not get the ball, but to get the player. So it's just staggering. It honestly is. And again, it just goes with the territory of the standard of referees in this country. But what can you do? What can you do? And that's it from me today, everyone. Thank you very much for your time. Enjoy the game later. If you're going, if you're not and you fancy a ticket, then you can go and get some, because there are loads and loads on the exchange today, as there has been for recent home games. So, you know, if you sometimes complain that you can't get a ticket and it's too hard, well, you've got a really good opportunity to go tonight and watch the boys. So do get over to the exchange if you fancy going to watch the game later. I'll be in the press box, as I said at the start. Live updates from me across my social media from the Emirates later on today. I'll be back in the morning to do the reaction show. You want to get involved in that, get down into the comments, leave your reaction after the full-time whistle in terms of what you saw, who impressed you, who didn't, all that sort of stuff. And I'll pull some of them together and get them included in the show tomorrow. Until then, have a good one, everyone. Speak to you soon. Bye-bye.